Well, we've obviously established ourselves in London now. We are the largest single luxury homes rental supplier in the London market with about 1,300 properties. And we've opened up in Paris this summer and starting to acquire properties at a healthy rate. And the idea now is to start looking at other cities in Europe and in the United States where we think there's a potential demand and a good supply of homes to expand the Veeve promise. At this stage, we're still at this stage of evaluating a bunch of places. Obviously, there's an additional overlay of Brexit, which is quite interesting. There's a lot of relocations likely outside of London, so it's the obvious candidates. It's Amsterdam, it's Dublin, it's Frankfurt. We're looking at those sorts of cities in Europe. And in the States, it's a bunch of cities, but we're keeping a close eye on the regulatory environment. One or two cities which are clamping down on private rentals, New York being a particular case. So it won't be New York, but it could be cities like Miami, Chicago, LA, San Francisco. We've seen more of a boost to leisure. I mean, it's probably tilted our balance from about 80-20 leisure business to more like 85-15 leisure business. Clearly, the weak pound has encouraged people to come into London, and there's been a slight tailing off actually of some of the business demand because, if anything, the business is heading out of London as people are thinking about relocations and looking at near-term opportunities in Europe. So that's one of the reasons also we're looking at the European markets now to get a bit more balance into the overall portfolio. But broadly speaking, it's slightly strange to say that Brexit's probably been helpful for us at this stage because of the weakness of sterling. But clearly it'd be good to have a few more footholds in the continent in due course. Yeah, the mood in Paris seems to be coming back quite strongly. It was pretty weak, I think, until about this spring, and it's starting to get back. I think perhaps there's becoming a little bit of a, sad to say, a bit of a sort of thicker skin developing to these terrorist outrages over the last few months, and they are coming almost across Europe now. We've had Barcelona, we've had other cities. So Paris seems to be on a steady upward trajectory. Clearly our clientele, again, are sort of families which are typically a little bit more nervous about travelling, but I think they're beginning to see Paris as a reasonable, safe bet. And of course, we're away from the hotels. We're in, comfier, leafier arrondissements where we find our apartments. So again, from a security side of it, I think that's something that does weigh on people's minds. Perhaps they would rather be in those places than in major city centre hotels. Yeah, I mean, 1,300 in London is already sort of halfway to our London target, I'd say. So that gives you a sense of where we think. There are probably three or four cities in Europe where we think we could get to 500 to 1,000 units, and then there's a bunch of. It really depends how much we think we can do in terms of organisationally, in terms of how many cities we can spread to in what time frame. So without putting a precise number, I think I'd like to see us in about 3 or 5 years' time at about 3 to 5,000 units.